Wow, man, what a night. UFC 261 just wrapped up and it far exceeded expectations. This was an amazing card. Prelims were insane. Main card was just crazy. We had all knockouts in the championship fights, 2 of them flush KOs. We had a leg snap in there. We had another stoppage due to a leg injury. The main card had no close fights. All of them were one-sided. First thing I want to talk about, the crowd being back. We've had a bunch of fights with no crowd and it was pretty good for the meantime, but I miss the crowd, man. There's an energy that you just don't get without them. And they were especially electric tonight, where they were actually cheering when takedowns were happening or when they got to the ground or transitions. They were actually excited about all aspects of MMA, which you don't normally see in North America. The North America fans, a lot of time, they boo when it goes to the ground, but this time, it didn't matter what was happening. They were cheering, and that's what we would like to see. Those are the best crowds, man, when they appreciate MMA for what it is. I mean, every time Valentina Shevchenko, for an example, took down Jessica Andrade, there was like an uproar in the audience. It was amazing. And then the whole Jake Paul chant was pretty funny, but I think it played out too long to the point where it was kind of taking a life of itself when a fight was happening. It was almost like being more important than the fight that they're watching. Nobody should pay attention to Jake Paul. The guy's just weird. I mean, DC had to come up to him and say a few things to him. I don't think he needed to. DC should not lower himself to that level. I mean, it's just some YouTube guy who has a couple wins in boxing, talking a bunch of trash. Nobody should care about what he says. But we also had Nick Diaz there tonight. He looks in phenomenal shape. I thought they were going to do something with him when he came to the arena, but they also had Colby Covington there. There was a bunch of guys there that it's a good thing that nothing happened. I mean, because Colby's talked a lot of trash, Jake Paul's talked a lot of trash, Nick Diaz doesn't take trash. A lot of stuff could have happened tonight, and thankfully it didn't. And we are going to start with that main event. Kamaru Usman knocks out Jorge Masvidal in the second round. Usman is just amazing, man. I mean, the way he set up Jorge like that and pretty much played him in the striking was something nobody expected. This is why MMA is so unpredictable. I mean, that knockout was so bad, man. It was such a big right straight they hit him with. The way Usman throws his punches, they're like stiff punches, even though they're not very flexible and they can get around guards and stuff like that. If he lands on you, man, you're going to feel the full power of those from the beginning of the extension all the way to the end of it. And he dove his whole body behind his punch. That was one of the biggest right hands I've ever seen. And Jorge took it all on this jaw. He was always proud of his chin and his durability, but man, it could not stand up to that punch. And now Jorge's roommates with Ben Askren in the Shadow Realm. Who would have thought? No, I'm kidding, but I'm glad to say that the curse has broken with the Robert Whittaker win. My main event curse is finally gone. Honestly, it took Ben Askren to get knocked out by Jake Paul for it to finally be done. Whittaker wins right after in dominant fashion. Now Usman wins in dominant fashion. This feels good. But it could just be that Usman is just that special. 14 wins in a row, most wins in welterweight history, one of the greatest welterweights of all time, one of the best resumes in UFC history already, and the guy's not old either. He's taking out contenders left and right, and like he said, he has to lap these guys now because of how many he's already beaten. The only guy he really hasn't beaten yet is Wonderboy Thompson, and Wonderboy is fighting Gilbert Burns. If Wonderboy wins, then it has to be Usman versus him, but they're gonna do Colby versus Usman now. Another rematch, and honestly, I don't see Colby winning. I mean, let alone what I saw tonight. What I saw against Gilbert Burns showed me enough that Usman will probably beat Colby worse than he did the first time. He's gradually getting more powerful with his strikes. He's getting better as a striker. He's understanding it a lot better. And if the wrestling is going to be neutralized again, the power that was the difference in their first fight is going to be more drastic this time. Colby showed to be the better striker in the first fight. He was at least more efficient and more effective. He was winning on the scorecards due to his striking, but the reason why he lost was because of the power. There were literally exchanges between the two where Usman will get hit by Colby's left hand and walk through it to bomb him with his own right, and it rocks Colby. Unless Colby comes out there with a different game plan and doesn't engage as much as he did the first time, I don't see how he wins this, man. I really don't, unless he just out-wrestles Usman, and we never see that coming. But now with the Masvidal win, where he's game planning around fundamentals and being a striker at Masvidal's level, I don't see anybody beating this guy. Maybe Burns catches him with something at some point in the future, or Colby out-wrestles him, or it's Hamza Chimaev that shows something out there, or Wonderboy Thompson presents to be too tricky and moves away from all the takedowns. This guy looks as unbeatable as anybody in the UFC right now. The jabs against Masvidal were so superb. Some people were downplaying his jabs after the win against Gilbert Burns, and they just said that Gilbert Burns doesn't have a chin. Burns showed a better chin than Jorge did. So what does that really tell you? It's not their chins are bad. It's just Usman hits that hard. They all fall to his power. I would say Colby has the best chin out of these guys, and he fell to it. Gilbert Burns fell multiple times to it, and Jorge got knocked unconscious by it. Nobody should be downplaying Usman from now on. He's not boring, he's not weak, he's not a bad striker, he doesn't just hug and foot stomp. I've never seen such a dominant champion be so underestimated in my life. Through all the years I've watched this sport, I've never seen a dominant champion get downplayed as much as Usman has. And with this performance, I don't think anybody's going to be downplaying him ever again. And watch, coincidentally, the next fight he's going to lose. That'd be hilarious. And then people are going to jump right back to, oh look, see, he actually wasn't that good. But solid performance by Kamaru Usman, setting up that right hand off of his jab and finding the straight punch on the looping left hook that Jorge kept trying to counter with. Just excellent stuff by him and excellent work from Trevor Wittman. The guy has done wonders with this fighter, and it's hilarious watching Trevor Wittman not even be surprised. It's like he always knows. Whenever his fighter wins, he just knows. And another thing about Trevor Wittman is, in the Coleman event, his fighter won as well by devastating knockout. We should just name him the coach of the year already. I mean, the guy's doing phenomenal work with these fighters. And then imagine if Gaethje wins a belt as well. That'd be insane. So we know Usman is going to fight Colby Covington. Jorge should probably fight Nate Diaz, I'd say. I just go with the Nate Diaz route. It's a big fight. It's probably the only big fight that Jorge can possibly have at this time. He saved that fight. If Nate wins or loses in his next fight, I think he could still make it. But now that I'm thinking about it, why not just do Jorge versus Leon Edwards? If Colby's gonna get the next shot, you could just do Leon versus Jorge. I mean, there's a built-in story to it. Leon is gonna like that because he's gonna get paid for it, and he's gonna get a bigger name if he goes and beats Jorge Masvidal. So one of those two are the fights I would like to see next. And then we go to the co-main event. Rose Namajunas knocks out Zhang Weili in the very first round. It's a second strike she landed in the fight, that lead high kick, and she played this fight beautifully. She was moving around like she usually does, but a lot of feints this time. And it looked like Zhang Weili was trying to keep up with all the feints. She constantly was reacting to everything. And this led up to the high kick after Rose faked the front leg, picked up the knee, and Zhang Weili thought it was going to be to the legs, ultimately leaning forward, catching one to the head. And a lot of people did not give Rose enough credit for this one. Personally, I thought it was a very 50-50 fight. I thought there could be things that Zhang Weili could do out there if she was going to pressure and land a bunch of leg kicks. She was throwing leg kicks, but she wasn't throwing them with a lot of power, and that was not good. Once I saw her just tapping Rose's leg, trying to feel out the fight, I was not feeling very confident in Zhang Weili as the fight was playing out. And there was no pressure from Weili. That was the one thing I was really going back and forth on. Would Zhang Weili pressure, or would she stay in the center like she always does? She stayed in the center. People think she's this marauding forward pressure monster, but she never fights like that. I was even hearing on the commentary that they were kind of describing Zhang Weili as that kind of style, but she's never shown that unless she has you hurt. Then she'll hunt you down with a barrage of strikes like she did against Andrade. But there was a great speed difference. Rose is fast, but I did not expect her to be that much quicker than Zhang Weili. And just like Kamaru Usman, Rose is getting better as well. She's only 27 years old. I mean, she's very young in this game, only 14 fights professionally. She has so much more room to grow. She's not even in her prime yet, and she's already beaten Joanna twice and Zhang Weili. This one definitely felt pretty good for all the debates I had around Rose's power after I claimed how powerful her strikes are. And I said this a couple times in my breakdown, she now is tied with Amanda Nunes with the most knockdowns out of all the female fighters in the UFC. Rose tied with Amanda Nunes. Great performance by Rose Namajunas, and there is no way they're doing Joanna versus Rose 3. She beat Joanna twice. Joanna has this thing where she's like entitled to a title shot every single time. You have to earn it at some point. Like, you can't just keep asking for it because you were the champion for a while and you're the greatest strawweight of all time. You have all these accomplishments in your career, but you have to earn a title shot after losing those title fights so many times. I mean, Joanna is 2-4 in her last 6 fights. All 4 of those losses are championship fights. She's gotten 3 title shots in her last 5 fights. Come on now. They even gave her a shot at flyweight, and she still lost that one. She needs to earn it now. As for Rose Namajunas, we have the fight in Carla Esparza versus Yan Xiaonan coming up on May 22nd. The winner of that is 100% next for a title shot, and I know a lot of fans are hoping that Esparza wins because a lot of people would love to see that rematch with Esparza. And frankly, it's going to be the first wrestler in such a long time that Rose is going to go up against. And as for Zhang Weili, maybe you could do her versus Joanna. Why not that? I mean, their fight was very close. A lot of people thought Joanna beat Zhang Weili. It was one of the best fights of all time. If Joanna wants a great fight, let's do her versus Zhang Weili again. And the winner of that, which is going to be down the road, should get the next title shot then. Because of course, Weili is going to have to take a lot of time off. Getting knocked out like that is not good. And I do kind of understand why she wouldn't agree to the stoppage. I mean, she got knocked out cold. She probably didn't understand what was going on. A lot of people seemed a little bit irked with the fact that she did look at the knockout and saw herself go limp and still thought afterward that it was an early stoppage. There seems to be the competitiveness in her and the fact that she's kind of denying that she lost. You need to be a real vet in this game like a Jorge Masvidal to take a loss like that very well. A lot of fighters are going to be in denial or try to find a way to convince themselves that this did not happen the way it did. Something got in the way, and it seems like for Zhang Weili, her excuse is, the ref stopped it early. I would have won the fight if it wasn't for the ref. We had Velibib Shermagomedov just putting on a grappling clinic on Jessica Andrade. Takedown after takedown, easy takedowns, trips and throws and all sort of stuff. What surprised me the most about this fight wasn't necessarily that Shevchenko was more technical and she was able to draw in Andrade into counterpunches, but her takedowns and her strength in the clinch. If there was any way Andrade was going to win, this was due to her strength, eventually getting into the clinch, picking up Shevchenko and slamming her, getting on top and smothering her with top control, but Shevchenko just seemed to be stronger. Every time we see Shevchenko fight, and we think about a way an opponent can beat her, she beats them at their own game. She beats them in that area, or she's better in that area than people expected, whether it be countering Holly Holm in every single exchange, whether it be out grappling Amanda Nunes and even beating her at distance striking, where she has a huge disadvantage in reach, whether it be submitting Juliana Pena, out striking Joanna Jędrzejczyk in every area of the game, and now beating Jessica Andrade in her own game, even at a test of strength. What can she not do at this point? I mean, there's only one fight left for her, and that is Amanda Nunes. There's nobody left for her to fight. Some people were questioning whether it be Zhang Weili or the strawweight champion versus Valentina Shevchenko. I've been saying for months, man, you gotta hold off on that. Shevchenko's on a different level. We gotta see more out of someone like Zhang Weili in order to really be confident in her ability to fight someone like Shevchenko. Shevchenko and Amanda Nunes. That is the highest caliber of MMA right now. Shevchenko and Nunes are on the same tier, everybody else is below them. And you could be shocked how many levels below every single other fighter is. Just a blazing performance. I mean, spectacular by Valentina Shevchenko. And the thing about her is, I'm always confident in her ability to show up in the fight. She's never injured. She always looks like 100% mentally and physically for the fight. She just looks like she's built for this. More than anybody else I've ever seen. One of the greatest martial artists of our lifetime. And like I said, she has to fight Amanda Nunes. And as for Jessica Andrade, there's a lot of fights in that flyweight division that make a bunch of sense. It's very shallow and the rankings aren't necessarily concrete yet. It's very volatile right now. So there's a lot of opponents for Jessica Andrade in my opinion. And then we go to the drastic end of Chris Weidman versus Uriah Hall 2. Chris Weidman snaps his leg. I mean, what can you say? It was terrible. The fight didn't even get to start pretty much. I mean, I don't want to take any credit away from Uriah Hall. Uriah Hall checked the kick. He did that. He's the one that caused the damage. Did he think it would cause that kind of damage? I don't think so. But here's a bit of an argument going for Uriah Hall's case as to giving more credit to his win. Of course, Chris Weidman threw a powerful leg kick. He threw everything he had into it. He swung his entire body into the kick. And Uriah Hall simply checked it with the upper part of his shin. There's gonna be damage. So Uriah Hall caused damage on purpose. The amount of damage that he caused probably is not something he expected. This argument is also very similar to, I punched you in your face and I broke your jaw, right? Or you ran in at me and I threw a punch out at you, intercepted you, and I broke your jaw. Did I think I would break your jaw with that punch? Probably not. I was just trying to land the punch. This can be a very similar argument for Uriah Hall's case, just to give him some credit, because it seems like a lot of people are just saying this is a freakish thing. The injury itself is a bit freakish because we don't normally see this kind of thing happen. We see a bunch of kicks get checked. But you also have to know that Chris Weidman threw everything he had into that leg kick. There was a lot of telegraph and his whole body behind it. Of course, there's going to be a greater amount of damage when you throw a kick like that and it gets checked. But ultimately, because of the freakish accident, I could see a rematch down the road. Uriah Hall, of course, is going to continue his career until if Chris Weidman comes healthy and he comes back to the sport. Uriah Hall is all up for a rubber match. But ultimately, that's not even the important thing. The important thing is we all hope Chris Weidman's healthy. We all hope he recovers from this, just like Anderson Silva did. I hope so, man. He's older as well. He's 36 years old. Anderson Silva recovered very well after what happened to him. But the thing that the doctor said about Anderson is he recovered faster than a normal human. It was like inhumane. So maybe that is just Anderson, that he's able to do that. But I hope it's the same for Chris Weidman. This will be a tragic end to his career, but it is a bit ironic that this happened to him after he did this to Anderson Silva. And the guy that checked this kick was the guy that a lot of people thought would take the torch off Anderson, would have been the next Anderson Silva. It's just such an ironic thing how it comes full circle like that. But ultimately for Uriah Hall, he's gonna have to continue his career. He's number 9 in the rankings. He beat number 11, I guess. They might jump him up above Kelvin Gastelum because he is coming off a win streak. Kelvin's coming off a loss, and he's not doing that well in his career in his like last 4 to 5 fights. I can actually see a rematch. Uriah Hall versus Kelvin Gastelum would be a pretty interesting fight. That would be fun to watch. And talking about leg injuries, we go to Anthony Smith defeating Jimmy Crute via stoppage between rounds. A lot of people, even I did, thought that Jimmy Crute was going to win this fight. It looked like Anthony Smith was on a down trajectory in his career. He was performing very badly in his last 2 to 3 fights, and Jimmy Crute was on an up trajectory. He was looking better as a young prospect of the light heavyweight division. But the thing is, Anthony Smith showed up tonight. Jabs on deck, just constant jabs, a clinic on Jimmy Crute, and then a leg kick to go with it. Just one big leg kick hit that perennial nerve, and Jimmy Crute was not able to stand on that foot anymore. It was actually pretty impressive that he got a takedown right after it happened. Right, he drops from the leg kick, he stumbles his way up to get that double leg takedown, and actually gets on Anthony Smith. That was very impressive from Jimmy Crute. The guy has a bunch of heart, man. There is no questioning Jimmy Crute's will. Injured or not, one leg, two legs, it doesn't matter. He's going to fight you. And he was putting the best poker face to try to continue the fight between the rounds. He was standing up, all amped up, telling him, let's go, I'm good. And then his leg gives out on him. Oh man, I felt so bad for the guy. He knew it was done there. Once his leg buckled, he knew that they were going to call it. Great performance by Anthony Smith, man. I did not expect him to show up tonight. I thought he would look worse in this fight than he did last time. And he is unranked. He beat the number 13 contender, so he should be a top 15 once again. I think him versus Ryan Spann would be an interesting fight. That's one I would really like to see. They're both very similar in the way they throw their punches. And as for Jimmy Crute, there's a lot of matchups for him. I mean, Paul Craig is interesting. Jamal Hill is very interesting. I actually like the Jamal Hill fight. It's two prospects of the light heavyweight division. Randy Brown looked fantastic against Alex Oliveira, another guy that's just getting better. Striking Oliveira and then easily submitting him. Dwight Graham was in all sort of trouble, able to, I guess, rally back. Brendan Allen with a great choke on Carl Robertson. There was, of course, going to be a huge difference in grappling here, but the pressure from Brendan Allen was ultimately going to be something very hard for Robertson to keep up with. So all in all, an amazing card with the fans back. I'm so pumped about the fans being back and how this all performed. And the Florida fans especially have always been a very lively crowd, but tonight they showed up, and for the first sporting event to have a massive audience like this, it felt good, man. It really did. So I hope you guys all enjoyed the event, and good night, everybody.